Hopefully this is going to be the podcast first. So,
Right.
you see. I noticed. I told you, man. I noticed that.
Oh, he got the socks.
I noticed that you always got your socks off.
Right.
Well, you got your shoes off on your
Right,
interview.
right.
So why you always have like just wear your socks?
Motivation and ambition is what got me far in life. There's only two ways out the struggle. Either you crawl or you fly. I'm talking titles, deeds, ownership. I'm not impressing, I'm investing. Now, that's ownership. Shout out to Nipsey's hustle. Now, we can all have ownership. Now that's ownership.
It's crazy because, like I said, I was like, I don't even know his real name.
Yeah, I don't even know your real name.
Curtis.
Curtis?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people, it's funny, a lot of people just now finding out, like, in the poetry world, what my real name was, because I had Voyage Raleigh did an article on me, and when I posted it, they had Curtis L. Hill Jr. They had my whole government up there instead of SP the writer.
And I was probably trying to figure out like who is this?
Yeah, people was like, yo,
Yeah.
who is Curtis? And I'm like, yo, I do got a real name. But it's dope that I knew you for your company name, and you knew me for my pen name, you know what I'm saying, or Inkspire, either or. He can come on in. Yeah, you come on in, bro. We just getting started. TC, that's Chris, Domonique from Preserve Father Figures. You grab, you got a chair? Yeah, we just got started. You good. Like, literally just sat down. You good, ain't nothing. We really hadn't even started for real. Yeah, sometimes I have like people come in, audience members or whatnot, want to watch. One day we'll have 50 people in here. But yeah, it's good, like, just as far as our businesses kind of precede who we are.
Right.
And so I know when Janelle, she was like, yo, I know somebody you should have on your podcast. And I'm like, who? So she was telling me. And so I watched a small clip of another episode of somebody's podcast that you were on. And I was like, man, yo, Preserve Father Figures, like, there's not a lot of people that are saying to do that. There's a lot of people who are saying, oh, the fathers aren't in the home. But I was like, I like just that thought process. And so I was like, yeah, I'd love to chop it up with him.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for inviting me, man. I really appreciate it.
No doubt. So I always start off all my episodes, man, with one question, and then we just kind of roll from there. But my question is, who do you think you are?
It's a great question, man. I try to prepare for it, but that type of question, man, it's hard to prepare for because you can go many directions with it. But I'm gonna try to keep it simple. As of right now, I think I'm a person that's trying to learn and grow constantly, like daily. I'm constantly trying to better myself, either as a person or with my brand.
Right.
So
what do you do to better yourself, like, as a person? Because we're going to definitely get into the business aspect of things, because I'm curious as to how you move with this type of business. But as a person, like, what things do you, like, physically or mentally do to better yourself?
So mentally, I try to read as much as I can.
Okay.
And it wasn't like that when I was younger. Like, I just started reading like this year.
Oh, wow.
Really. And I read like 4 or 5 books this year. And I do like audio books and stuff like that too.
Okay.
And physically, like, I try to make sure I walk, exercise every day, keep my health up, because health is wealth at the end of the day. If you don't have that, you can't do nothing.
Anything. What books did you read this year, or one of the bigger books that you read?
Some of the key books I read this year was The Compound Effect.
I've heard of that one.
The Magic of Thinking Big.
Okay, I read that one.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yep.
The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster.
Okay.
Things of that. Books are kind of in that field.
Do you feel like because I know you said before you weren't like a big avid reader, have those books helped you to navigate what you have going on in the entrepreneurial world so far?
They have. It definitely changed my mindset.
Got you. How old are you?
I'm 29. I just turned 29.
That's crazy. Like, I'm 38, about to turn 39. I still feel 29, but I'm not 29, like, for real.
Right.
And I remember reading The Magic of Thinking Big when I was in my 20s. How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Right.
you know, the 5 Love Languages, like just books that are kind of staples in the entrepreneurial field, especially. And I know for me, and it seems like it's probably different for you because you're in a work mode. And when I was reading those books, I wasn't necessarily in a work mode. I was reading them because like I feel like I should read these books, but I didn't have anything to apply it to. So you said the things that you do for a personal, but with business, and of course your mindset is getting where it needs to be with that. But how are you applying those things in your business? What does your business look like that allows you to move a certain way?
Yeah, so some of those things, like a lot of those books, they have a lot of knowledge in them, and it's really hard to apply everything to it, but as long as you take some key concepts with it
Right.
and make it work for you, then you really got what you need from those books.
Right.
And so one of the things, especially with the compound effect, is it basically, with the whole book, it tells you just doing the small things that adds up to really doing something big for you. So you can start off with a real big goal. Of course, you're not gonna be able to knock that real big goal out at one time or one day.
Right.
So as long as you knock out the small things and get those done, it's gonna add up to eventually letting you get to that bigger goal.
Got you. So what's your bigger goal for Preserve Father Figures, but then also your bigger goal, and it may be one and the same, for you as a person?
So I have a lot of goals for the brand, and one of the main things that I want to do is scale it.
Okay.
So I've been doing things as of like actually this month, within the last couple of weeks, where I'm trying to prepare myself to where I can scale the brand on a bigger level. And then once I can do that, so because one of the key things with my brand is I want to be able to help people.
Gotcha.
And I just started a brand in 2020.
Right.
So this year was my 4th year of having it, and I was able to help somebody with my brand. With me still being this young, I was able to donate supplies to a teacher's classroom.
And I know, especially when you start talking about helping teachers, because there's a lot of teachers, and I've even interviewed teachers that are burnt out,
Right.
or became burnt out and no longer are teachers. And so there's a lot of times where they need help, or they need somebody to say, hey, I see what you're doing. Here's, X, Y, Z.
Right.
And that helps them that gives them some fuel to keep going. So I imagine for you, using your brand and your influence and being able to do something like that was gratifying.
It felt good. And like I said, I definitely want to put myself in a position to where I can do it even more.
Right.
So that's why I said me scaling the brand and getting it out there more to other people, letting them know what the brand is about and what I do with the brand. I feel like it'll help me out.
All right, so let's talk about that real quick, because I guess maybe the one question I had in my head when I'm just kind of looking over your website and looking over your social media was, what spurred this brand? Because you started in late 2020, which pandemic,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then also, like, most people just aren't sitting around like, all right, that's what I'm gonna do, preserve father figures. You know what I mean? So what kind of spurred that? Does that come from your childhood, or does that come from where?
Yeah, so I can take you back. So I'm gonna just jump around with the story. So what happened was I was chilling with a friend of mine, LA.
Okay.
Also known as Son Assembly.
Yeah,
He was
Son
up here.
Assembly. That's my guy.
And so I was hanging out with him at his apartment, and we like to call them like business sessions. Like we would get together, we'd just brainstorm and bounce off of each other. And we were just sitting there talking, chopping it up, and he asked me this question. I think it was either what's your passion or what's your purpose? Okay. He asked me one of those two questions, and I was always asked that question. I never had an answer for it because I felt like I was still searching for it. And so when he asked me that, the first thing that came to my mind was my daughter.
Okay.
I just had my daughter in July, and she was the first thing that came to my mind.
Right.
And so I was like, I got to do something with that, like, because I'm passionate about being a father and having my child.
Right.
And so I was like, let me do something with that. And so we ended it there. I came back to his apartment again. We had another business session. We were just brainstorming, bouncing off each other, and I came up with the name. I was trying to come up with the name like something that stood out, and I knew I wanted father figures in it.
Right.
But then I was just like, I need something else.
Right.
And so the first business name I came up with, it was four father figures.
Okay.
And I was just like, that's still not doing it.
Wasn't quite touching it
It's
the way
still
you
not
wanted.
doing it for me. It's not that it factor in it. And so he had just came out the blue and was like, preserve. And then I was like, that's it. I was like, preserve father figures. I was like, we got to go with that.
Right.
And I was just like, after that, I was like, we done for the day.
Right.
And then I came back to his apartment again, and I was like, let's figure out, let's come up with the logo on how we can do this. And so when I think about preserve, the first thing that came to my mind was like the preserve jar, like the mason jar.
Yeah.
I'm from the country,
too.
so it's just like, with the preserve, they put the
apple preserve,
the apple
the
preserve,
peach
and
preserve,
all that.
all
And
that.
then if you want to get deep into it, they put the bootleg liquor into
Yep.
it, with the cinnamon stick. You know what I'm talking
Right.
about? And so I was just like, yeah, I got to go with that, because like with the preserve, it's like, you're trying to save it.
Yeah.
And so that's how I came up with the logo and everything with that. And then as far as when you said like when it jumps back to my childhood,
Right.
it kind of does play into my childhood, because when I was younger, my biological father, he wasn't kind of really in my life like that
Right.
in the beginning, because he was dealing with his own demons. And so I did have a stepdad up until a certain amount of time in my life, where I felt like it was pivotal to it, like I need kind of like that role model in my life, because he left kind of when him and my mom separated when I was in middle school.
Gotcha.
And so I was just like, I never really had that father figure around other than like my granddad or somebody. I never really had nobody that I attached to as like a role model per se, or somebody that I looked up to, like I wanted to be like them.
Right.
And so that's kind of where all that played into, as far as like with my childhood, and then what I had always going on. I always said to myself, when I become a dad, I always want to be better.
Right. That's dope. And I was wondering, because I didn't know until I saw the picture of you and your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, so he does have at least one child.
I have her, and then I have a stepson.
Got you. Mm-hmm. Or as my friend says, bonus kid.
Yeah.
Bonus son. So I then knew that, and so I was wondering. I was like, man, like I wonder how, or what influences he had as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If that played into it, because I think we all, at some point, think about, especially black fathers, and not to segment it out in that particular way, but black fathers not being present or being present, because there's a lot who are present, or a lot who do have bonus kids that they treat as their own.
Right.
But I just thought it was, because I'm a writer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So using the word preserve on it and saying we're going to preserve father figures, how does the brand help people preserve a father figure?
It's kind of just, it helps it because we're putting it out there. Like we're trying to change the narrative that there are positive fathers and father figures out here.
Right.
And I love to tell people all the time, you don't have to be a dad to wear my brand at all. It's all about just spreading that positive message. You can still be a woman and wear it because you had a great father in your life. You have a brother, uncle, a cousin that's a great dad, or somebody that you looked up to that's a male as a role model to you.
Right. That's dope. And I know a lot of things obviously start with conversation.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I know for me, it's a recognizable brand already, because like when I saw you at the black market, I was like, oh shoot, there go, preserve father figures. Yeah. And
I kind of saw it because when I was talking to the customer, I kind of saw you at the corner of my eye. You was waiting. I was like, yes, he's about to come with like another customer. Come on, bring him on.
But that's how it should be, and it should be something that's recognizable. But being that you have the social part of it, the impact part of it is the word I'm looking for, behind the brand, versus it just being something to sell.
Right.
Is super big. I know. I can only imagine. And let me ask you: are you in the school system? Like, do you do talks at schools? Do you do things of that nature where you're able to touch the kids?
No, I don't. And the only reason is I feel like I would need a mentor for that first, because I would want to learn from somebody before I want to start being a leader, and if that kind of makes sense, like I would want to like be able to get the tools that I can so that I can properly speak to the kids and things of that nature.
Got you. So, and this
but I would definitely, sorry to cut you off, but I would definitely love to get in that lane as far as doing that.
We're gonna get you in that lane. And let me say this first before I start putting my foot in my mouth.
Come on. Come on. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, baby. I don't mean to be rude. Yeah. I'm just a little different from all these dudes. Okay. They riding waves, me, I'm up on a cruise. Yeah. You feel like me, then you got nothing to prove. I see him trying to do what I do. Yeah. Even McDowell couldn't move like a move. Yeah. You think you're how I look, I'm up on the moon. Yeah. Got fresh to death and it came out of the tomb. That's cause I got a different type of gratitude. Don't be sour, got my power from the Beatitudes. And we did it the long way, check out the latitude. I'm unapologetically fly, I don't wonder why, that's just my attitude. Yeah, that's right, yeah, that's just my attitude. Oh, yeah, I don't blame you, if I was you, I'd probably be getting mad too. Yeah, I know now that there ain't no better dude. That's just my attitude. Okay, that's just.
I can't necessarily say I can have you going to schools, speaking to the kids, you know, on stage or in that way. But I think what you can do while you're kind of being mentored by whoever is being around the kids at the school.
Okay.
Because as we know, you know what I'm saying, like, I remember when parents used to come to the school when we was young, and it was a big deal, especially if it was a cool parent.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so for a black man to show up at a school, like I went to the Durham, God, I can't remember the name of the school right now, but it's an art school. One of our friends used to work there before she moved. And when I walked in the classroom and they knew what I was there for, and they knew I was a writer and I had a show, like they literally would treat me like a rock star.
Really?
Like they asked for autographs, like, yo, can you look at my poem, this and that and the other. And so then that lends itself to the opportunity that they'll listen to whatever you gotta say.
Okay.
And so of course when you go to the school, you're gonna have preserved father figures
Oh yeah,
on.
for sure.
And you can, I think it's just simple as, hey, like, do you know what this means? Like, what does this mean to you? Okay. What do these words mean to you? Or they going, you know, kids are inquisitive. They ask, hey, what, like, preserved father figures, what does that mean? And I think that'll help you open up to having conversations with kids just to even implant that into them.
Okay.
But I know a couple of people I'll definitely get you linked with that can hopefully just open the door to you actually being in the schools and then however it go from there.
Thank you. I feel like that's what it's all about at the end of the day, just getting together and networking and knowing people, because as you know, most of the time it's not what you know, it's who you know. Yeah. And just being in those type of rooms and settings and talking to people is definitely helpful. Like me being on this podcast, I know I'm on the right path and doing the right thing.
Word. Most definitely. I know for me, and I've had this conversation with Chris, with Good Trip. I've talked to a few other people. Me and Janelle have had plenty of conversations. Like the podcast, really, a part of it is a selfish part for me, but that selfish part of it is me being able to open myself up to connect with people and then help connect them. You know what I mean? Because I do have some connections and do know how to do a couple of things. And so for me, it allows me to help kind of fulfill my purpose by helping somebody else fulfill theirs.
And so I was looking at a couple of your podcasts, and you had mentioned that once you get to your 100th episode that you was going to try to get everybody together to have one big thing. And I was just thinking, like, that's a really good idea. But I'm like, why not do it before then? Like,
I think I just threw out some arbitrary number. Yeah, you know, it's 100, you know what I mean? Or like people always say, I want to be a millionaire. They don't never say I want to be a 1.5 millionaire. You know what I mean? Like it was just an arbitrary number, and it was a milestone. And then also looking at kind of how my schedule is with my shows and things of that nature, where I estimate next year, toward the end of next year, when I hit 100 episodes that are out, I will have already done some things with my show that'll have me in a bigger place to make that even more impactful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So it's a little method.
Because
to
I'm
the
like,
madness.
put me in the room early.
He's like, now.
Yes.
He's like, I ain't trying to wait. Yeah, and then too, I want it to be, because I mean, I could do it at 20. You know what I'm saying? But then there's less energy in the room. There's less synergy, just because there's less people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if I got 100 people who would then all bring in a +1, and let's say 75 make it, bring a +1, you got 150 people in a room who all have something going on, who are all moving and shaking, and don't all know each other, then I feel like that'll do some things.
Makes sense. I'd definitely be there. 100%.
But yeah, I mean, even before then, like, I still connect, because people connect me all the time. You know what I mean? I connect myself to people, and then sometimes people say, hey, you know, let me make this email introduction, or let me make this Instagram introduction.
And so I got one other thing too. So like I said, when we talked before, I said I want to do the hopefully this is going to be the podcast first. So
Right.
You see. I noticed. I told you, man. I noticed that.
Oh, he got the socks.
I noticed that you always got your socks off.
Right.
Well, you got your shoes off on your
Right,
interview.
right.
So why you always have like just wear your socks?
So I have a decent amount of shoes, but I didn't want to repeat my shoes on episodes.
Yeah, I kind of figured that's probably.
And so I was like, I can go buy a $1 pair of socks.
Yeah, and so I'm into socks as well. Like,
Okay.
I think I got it from my mom, and I was like, let me wear a cool pair of socks and then take
Those
mine
are dope.
off. So I was like, hopefully this is a podcast first. Nobody else took theirs off.
No, nobody else has done that. Now I've had people come in, they've given me socks.
Yeah.
Or they'll be like, I was wondering what socks you was gonna wear for my episode, but nobody else has just been shoeless on the podcast, so that's dope.
Yeah, I was like, hope he don't get mad if I do
Oh,
this. Like, I know this is his thing, so I
Not
was
at
just
all.
like,
Not at all. But what I have realized though, now that you bring it up, it's crazy. It makes people feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like you at the crib, you done kick your shoes off.
Yeah, because I feel way more comfortable with my shoes off now too.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple of people that I've been on episodes with that I had never met until they walked through the door. Like I've talked to them maybe like once or twice online just to be like, hey, I want to get you on the podcast, kind of how we were, but I hadn't actually met them in person, even like how I met you. So I think it allows people to feel comfortable to say whatever it is they need to say.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think it's dope, yeah, because I want to do some socks for my brand too. And you'll definitely be the first person I have in mind to send something.
Listen, I'm gonna buy mine. Just send me the link, and I'm gonna purchase some. Yeah,
Gotcha,
definitely
gotcha.
support the brand, but that'll be dope. So your daughter, she's 1 and some change now, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So how is it being a girl dad? Because we hear, the buzz term girl dad ever since, Kobe, you know what I mean, God rest his soul. Girl dad became a thing, right? How is it being a girl dad?
Oh man, she runs all over me. I hate to say it. She can get anything she wants, but it's crazy. I always wanted a boy, but now that I got the girl, like, man, I hear stories about boys being hard-headed and all that stuff. Man, you could probably tell me something about that. Don't you have a son? You
Yeah,
have
I got a
right?
son, yeah.
Yeah, so man, it's crazy. It's an experience that I never could imagine.
Right.
It just put me on a whole nother level and drive to do better for her,
Right.
and make sure she's set in life.
How was your life prior to having your daughter?
My life prior to having my daughter, playing a bunch of video games all day, just chilling, hanging with friends.
Right.
And then after having her, it just put me in that mindset or that mode. Like I gotta do something to make sure we got some type of generational wealth or something. So I at the end of the day I can leave her with something.
Yeah. What else do you do? Because obviously you have preserved father figures. Do you have any other businesses, or do you have any other passions that you now are pursuing or want to pursue?
I don't have any other businesses as of yet. Like this one is still a baby, so I'm trying to make sure I get all the proper systems and everything in place, so that way it can kind of like just take care of itself.
Right.
So right now I'm just focusing on this, but I do have other things like I eventually do want to branch off in and have other businesses as well.
Right.
But right now this is the main focus. Like this is the baby.
Got you. How did you? So all right. So once you and Son of Simba sat down, y'all came up with the logo, all that good stuff, which is pretty much what everybody does in the very beginning. What were your first action steps to getting things moving? I'm asking that because being a baby entrepreneur, there's a lot of people who are just starting businesses or wanting to start a business right now, and they're like, yo, I don't really even know what to do right now.
Right.
Like, so what are some of the things that you did to start putting your business together, then to start thinking about putting those systems together, and then even getting the word out? Because that's a whole lot that goes into a lot of that.
Right. So just kind of take it back a little bit more, give a little bit more of the backstory.
All right.
So another one of the reasons why I did create a clothing brand is because at some point in time I was looking in my closet and I was going in stores and I was just like, these clothes that I'm looking at trying to buy, it's like I'm not getting anything from it. Like it's not doing something for me.
Right.
So then I was just like, once we came up with this, I was like, it's got to be a clothing brand that I can put out. And so like the steps that I went through, like I knew that the LA Son of Simba, he worked at a shop that did clothes.
Right.
And so just through knowing him, I went to the shop.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Man, he's kind of like the jack of all trades. But I went to that shop and I got some clothes made, and I was just telling people I had a brand. Like I put it on my because before I started the brand, I was never really big on social media.
Okay.
But nowadays you need social media if you got a brand or trying
Right.
to put something out there. So I finally created a social media page for it and everything, promoted it on my page, had friends promote it on theirs, and from then I started doing pop-up shops.
Okay.
So with the pop-up shops is helping me connect and network with people like you, because they got the little picture set up on the front,
Yep.
and they'll see it, they'll be intrigued, they'll come over and talk to me about it, and then I tell them. And I've met with a lot of great people doing that.
Right. What about the people who would say, because one thing you said, you was like, yo, you had your friends promote it on their pages, right? What about the person that'll say, yo, I don't have no friends, or I don't have a lot of friends? How am I gonna get people to promote my stuff if I don't know a lot of people? What would you tell those people? Man,
you got to start somewhere. Like the first thing I would say, if you don't have a lot of friends, start doing pop-up shops.
Yeah.
Wear your clothes all the time,
True.
Somebody gonna walk up, if they like it, they're gonna walk up to you like, hey, where you get this from?
All the time. All the time. So, I know even with my, and I don't even have a whole lot of merch, but like if I got my Inspired hoodie on, they be like, yo, like what's Inspired? And then of course I'm gonna, show them everything. Right. Or like I got my Stranger Fruit hoodie, which was a poem I wrote. Of course, Strange Fruit, everybody knows what that is. So they be like, Stranger Fruit, like what's that? And so I agree, just wearing your own stuff will get people to ask you questions about.
Because I've wore my clothes in the airport, and I've had a lot of people coming to me in the airport and it's like, hey, I like this brand. Where did you get it from?
Right.
And I'm happy to be like, oh, this is my brand.
Yeah.
Like,
and so then you pass on your website from there.
Pass on my website, or I usually keep like a business card or something on me so I could just pass them that.
Word. Yeah. That's dope, man. It's crazy because like when I was in my 20s, I was business minded, but I wasn't doing business things.
Okay.
And so it's always good to talk with other individuals, let alone a young black man that has the business mind and is trying to cultivate that, but is also putting it into work while it's going on.
Because it's crazy because I always had a business mindset. I always said that I wanted a business, but I never really knew exactly what type of business I wanted it to be. So when I was in college, so I went to college at North Carolina Central.
Okay. Eagles.
Yeah. And so it's crazy because when I was there, my major changed like 3 different times, but it wasn't my fault. So I first went there for computer science. I went there.
That's a lot of math.
Let me tell you.
Jesus
But math was my
Christ.
favorite subject.
Okay.
And so when I went there, there was like, yeah, we getting rid of the program, so you got to change. But then even before they had said that, I had took this one programming class, and I was like, yeah, it's not for me.
Right.
And so I switched it to computer information systems.
Oh, I did CIS a little bit at Campbell.
Okay, so I did that, and then they were saying, okay, so we're getting rid of this program too. So we're gonna have to like, you can either stay in it and try to accelerate before we get rid of it, or you got to switch it to something else.
Right.
And then I was like, oh my God. So I was like, all right, let me just switch it to business. I was like, you can't, like, if you get rid of business, man, I'm just, school is not meant for me.
Right.
Good Trip Tattoo and Art. My passion is creating art, and there's no better feeling than seeing a happy client.
And so I switched it to business with a concentration in management, got that degree, and then while I was in school, I was into shoes.
Okay.
I loved buying sneakers. Like, I had me and my group of friends, we were always, like, when a new sneaker came out, well, during that time, you would have to camp out for shoes at night. And so we would do that. We would find, like, make sure we would find different places and camp out for them overnight, get shoes. And I was like, I loved, like, sneakers were my passion then. So I was like, I want to open up a sneaker business. But then the game kind of just got, like, the sneaker game just kind of got, like, too crazy for me. So
all the bots and stuff.
Yeah, all the bots and stuff. And then, like, that camping out at night just got old real quick, trying to get shoes. And so I always had the entrepreneur mindset, because even when, like, some crazy stuff would happen, let's just say when you waiting in that line and you ask people, what size you waiting to get, what size you waiting to get, what size you waiting to get, because you don't want to wait out there all night and then somebody already getting your size.
Right.
And so, like, happened to me a couple times. Somebody would say they get in a certain size, but then they end up getting the size that I need. Right. So I'm like, I didn't just sit out here all night for no reason.
Right.
So I would still have to buy a size of that shoe and then have to flip it somehow. So,
so like you said, it's just always in you.
Right. So I always had it. And then when this came around, I was just like, I'm not fumbling this one.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think it's too big to fumble. I mean, because it. Not just for yourself, it means a lot, obviously, having a daughter, but because of the impact that it can have on so many other people. Right. If you fumble it, it's a lot of people that's gonna miss what they need to get because you weren't where you was supposed to be.
Yeah, because I have a lot of people that come up to me and be like, I love the brand, I love the message, like this is what we need and all of that. And so you're gonna have losses, you know, with anything. And so when I come into those losses or I'm feeling down because something didn't go my way, I always sit back and think to those people that's done motivated me and telling me you got something special here. And so I just try to keep pushing and moving forward no matter what.
Do you and I know it's like early, but a lot of businesses don't even make it, you know, past a couple of years. Do you ever feel like you want to quit?
I do.
You do?
I've ran into, like I said, to parts of this entrepreneur process to where I wanted to quit. You know? Like
what? Give me an example of something that you ran into. You was just like, man, I'm about to be done.
Man, just taking a loss on something where I'm thinking I'm gonna win. Like when I bought, like, especially like when I bought some product and then it got messed up. Or whatever. So it's just like I just took a hit, you know what I'm saying? But then at the end of the day, I'm like, I got to take this, learn from it, right, and then move different next time. Right. You know?
Are you full-time entrepreneur right now?
No, I'm not a full-time entrepreneur.
All right, because I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs too that are juggling both.
Yeah, I mean it's hard trying to juggle both, especially trying to balance the work life, the entrepreneur life, and the family at home as well. So
Right.
I just be trying to find time with all of them. You know,
Gotcha.
just kind of got to make it work.
Are you married?
No, but I am engaged.
Okay, well, congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats. You got a date yet?
We don't have a date yet, but we're looking at 2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bet. All right. So y'all not engaged, and it's like, all right, 3 months later we getting married. And you know, more power to the people that do that. But
Right.
I know that for me, just in my experience, the people that I know that were engaged longer, that actually did get married, stayed together a whole lot longer than people that I know that got engaged and got married quicker.
Right. Yeah, because I don't like it's. I don't want to rush into it, and I don't want to put myself or put us in a financial bind. You know, trying to do all this stuff early. So it's just like we're just gonna take our time with it, and we're gonna make it happen eventually.
Were y'all together when you started Preserve Father Figures?
Yes.
So when you went to her and you was like, hey, look, I got this idea, Preserve Father Figures, like, what was her response?
She was super supportive about it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's something major, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're doing something. If you're an entrepreneur and doing anything that you want to do, you need that support system in your corner, because you don't need that negative energy from anybody. If anybody is being negative about what you're doing, then you just need to get rid of them.
So she'd have been done if she'd have been like, I don't know about that one.
I don't know.
He's like, we'd have had to work on
trying to get me in trouble. I don't know if she would have been done, but it just would have been like.
It would have been hard, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been hard. Like, I probably wouldn't have, like, anytime I had like an idea or something for the brand, I probably wouldn't have brought it to her.
Right. Make sure that's flat too.
Yeah,
Is
I'm
it
trying
flat?
to.
Yeah, it should be. As long as it ain't like on your like that, then we good.
Yeah, there you go.
Word. But yeah, I mean that can. And is she an entrepreneur as well? Let me ask you that.
No, she's not an entrepreneur.
All right. So,
She's mentioned to me like she wanted to do things.
Okay.
I pushed her, but then I'm not gonna sit there and keep constantly pushing.
Yeah.
Like that, you gotta want it. You gotta want
Yeah.
it. You know. And then once I see that she wants to get into it, then I help motivate her and push her. And
I think it's crazy. I think once she see you get to a certain point, that'll be her ignition.
Hopefully.
Yeah, because I mean that's like y'all are together, you know what I mean, and y'all are building a life together, and so she's obviously, you know, y'all look to each other for, you know, strength and this and the other. So she's like, okay, let me see, you know, what are you gonna do over there?
Exactly.
And then I think at a certain point, then it becomes, oh, I got an example right here. You know what I mean? I know somebody that's done navigated those waters. And now I feel more comfortable stepping out myself, because now she knows she got somebody that's in it with her.
Yeah.
So that I think that'll be dope for y'all. Y'all wind up staying together, getting married. I think that'll be dope when y'all are able to do something together, or she's doing something separate that you're able to then help her with. Because as we know, women love security. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And for real, we all do. But women, in the general societal way, look for security from their mates, and so I think that'll probably be big for y'all.
We'll see. Like I said, I definitely help her and support her whatever she want to do, but you gotta want it first.
Yeah, true. Do you want more kids?
Man, that's a. I know she said she doesn't want more kids.
Okay.
I'm cool with just this. I'm cool with the 2 I have
Gotcha.
now, but. Oh man, let me get this one out of diapers first.
Right. Look, and some people want to get them all in a row, so when they get out of diapers, they're all out of diapers. Versus saying, okay, we had 4, 5, 6. Now let's start over again.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, I wanted twins. I always wanted twins in my first go around, but now once I done had this one.
Why'd you want twins?
I don't know. I just always wanted twins for some reason.
Heck,
If I had a twin girl and a boy, I would have been.
Oh, you'd be set then.
Yeah.
But best of both worlds.
But yeah, now that I just got this one, I was like, twins. I'm glad I just got one this go around.
Yeah, boy, them twins can be heavy from what I hear.
Yeah. I heard that too.
Cause you got 2, one crying, and the other one start crying, and that's
You get one to sleep, and then the other one want to start crying. Yeah.
that's crazy. Are you from here?
I'm not from Raleigh. I'm from a small town called Murfreesboro.
Oh yeah, I heard of it.
You heard of it?
I've never been, but I heard of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you mentioned about your small town, we probably only got like 3 or 4 stoplights, but we mostly known for, have you heard of Chowan University?
Yep.
So that's
One of my
what
guys, he was like 3 or 4 years ahead of me in school. When I was a freshman, he was a senior. I remember he went and played at Chowan. I can't remember his name right now. But that was the first time I heard Chowan. And that's how I know about a lot of small towns through basketball.
I'm about to say, yeah, through that. And pretty much not really too much going on. Everybody know everybody. If you want to go to the nearest mall, it's probably like an hour away.
Damn.
Yeah, it's bad.
An hour?
Yeah, at least an hour. You either got to go to like Greenville, Rocky Mount, or you either got to go to Virginia, because where I'm from, like, we probably like 10 to 15 minutes from the Virginia line. And then once you get to Virginia, you still got to drive through it to get to the nearest mall.
Dang, that's crazy. How was that growing up that far from, and I know this is like a weird question, but how is it that far from a mall? Like, how is growing up that far from a mall? Because when I was growing up, we had to go to the next county over to Jacksonville, but that's where we went, talked to girls, and you know what I'm saying, all that. Like, what in the world did y'all do without a mall?
I don't know, man. We just had to make it work, like playing outside or something. Like we always played football, basketball, hunt, four-wheel, just all the basic country stuff.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were heavy into sports?
I was as a kid.
Or basketball? Which were you better at?
My basketball. I love the basketball to death.
Or
yeah. But the crazy thing is, I didn't get my height until between the junior and senior year in high school.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I've been the same height since 9th grade.
Really?
Yeah. So when I got to 9th grade, I thought I was gonna get taller, but then I just stopped. But I was pretty tall for at that time anyway. Now kids 6'7" in 9th grade, but yeah, I've been the same height since 9th grade. So I was like, yeah, the basketball is gonna be for me. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go ahead and rock this out.
And so I got a question for you. Like with you being a dad as well, what's like a number one tip that you can give somebody that's a dad, like with parenting? Or what's some, I wouldn't say number one tip, but just like what's some tip or a tip that you would like to give?
So it's crazy. Man, so I'm a dad, but I haven't seen my son in years.
Okay.
Everything was like really, really good up until he was probably 9, 10 years old. He's 17 now.
Okay.
And we were like, me and his mom, as far as co-parenting, like we was like the posters. Like if you want to look in the dictionary for co-parents, like that was us. Like even after she got married, me and her husband was super cool. We would take my son to DC and go to a football game together. We go bowl, like everything was just good. And then things just like fell apart. So it's kind of, I'm trying to figure out, I'm thinking back to when things were good, but to give a tip that makes sense to somebody who then knows now that it went bad.
Right.
And I'll answer it this way. If I could go back, I probably would have voiced my opinion more about how I felt like he should be raised.
Okay.
Because I have a son, his name's Isaiah. Because what wound up happening is because I didn't voice my opinion, was just kind of, you know what, I don't want to rock the boat. Then when it came time, when things did get rocky, then me rocking the boat was me tipping the boat over. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because that wasn't what our relationship was used to, that wasn't what she was used to. And so then it just became it just became a split that just couldn't be fixed between me and her at that point in time. But I would tell, especially fathers, I would say don't let stuff just slide that you don't believe in when it comes to how you want to raise your child. Even if it's different from how the mother wants to raise a child, you have the conversation about it, and then you just kind of move from there. And you know, everybody has to navigate their situations differently once that conversation is had. But that would be the tip that I would have, because I feel like that'll allow you to get to a place in your relationship, not only with the other parent, whether you're together or not, but also with your child, so that there's an understanding there that even if something happens, you can move past that. Yeah.
I feel like that's great. Yeah, I can only imagine how co-parenting is, or even like just being the same parents in the same household in general, because you're not going to always agree on parenting skills at the end of the day. Yeah. But my number one thing is, like, as long as we can compromise and come to a common solution, then we good.
Yeah, I think, and I know one of our mottos pretty early on was always whatever's best for Isaiah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember it would be times where, let's say, daycare needed to be paid, and I ain't have my part. But she's like, all right, I got it. And I'd be like, nah. And she'd be like, yo, like, why you ego tripping? Like, we good. And vice versa, you know what I mean? And so I feel like if people, you know, we see a lot of relationships between parents and kids that end because of the parent.
Right.
And I feel like if everybody just focuses in on what's good for the child, then you have a base that is never broken. Right. Because it's not about me, it's not about you, us, it's about what the kid needs and what's best for the kid. Now, obviously you're gonna have your different opinions on what's best for the kid, but if you really break it down and be for real with yourself, then you know what's best for the kid. So yeah, that's the advice that I would give. I didn't think you were gonna ask me that question because there's a lot of people, and I guess it's kind of good we having this conversation, just for me, I guess, for real. Because there's a lot of people that don't know I have a child. Right. There's a lot of people that I've met, because I just got into the whole poetry, entertainment world and stuff 3 years ago. And so a lot of people that have been around me, they just know me for being SP, he ain't married, he ain't no kids, no whatever. and like sometimes people ask me, they'll be like, yo, you got kids? And I'll be like, nah. Because I don't even want to go through the story. Yeah. But there are some people, a lot of people really, that can remember when I was always with my son. And so it's not, I don't want to say it's weird, but for lack of a better term, like, it's weird sometimes because they be like, yo, like, have you talked to Isaiah? Like, have you heard from his mom? You know, whatever. And they're not asking it to get on my nerve. They're not asking it to make me mad or nothing like that. They just remember when I was with my son every day, everywhere I went. Like, even our birthdays, my sister's birthday is May 10th, my son's birthday is May 11th, and my birthday is May 12th. Wow. So even just in that calendar way, you know what I'm saying, like, we're connected. And so I always spent my birthdays with him having his birthday parties. So people always, like, I'm not big on birthdays. And one of the reasons I'm not big on birthdays, and I kind of put it on some other things, but it's because, like, every year during my birthday, I'm thinking about that my son's birthday just came and I'm not with him. Yeah. And that's even made me make some, like, bad business decisions. I had a show Mother's Day weekend of 2019. I had an Inspired show, and I was adamant about having it that weekend because I was having a real hard time at that point in time, like, not being around my son. And I'm like, yo, all right, his birthday coming up, what can distract me? And so I was like, you know, if I got a show, I'll be so zoned in on that I really won't think about it, and I can kind of glaze over it. And so that's what happened. But then the show wasn't what I wanted it to be because it was on the wrong weekend. It's Mother's Day, graduation weekend. You know what I'm saying? So not as many people came out as I wanted to. But yeah, and I, you know, I said all that, but it's crazy because when Janelle was telling me about, you know, your brand, I was just like, man, like, I'm internally thinking about just the things that I've gone through. That other people have gone through as well, but trying to figure out, like, what is this brand? What does this brand mean to me? Do I want this brand to mean something to me? You know what I mean? So I was like, man, like I really want to have him on and just kind of like pick his brain behind just his, you know, your experiences and how your parenting situation is.
Yeah, and so I can kind of piggyback off what you were saying. Like I said in the beginning, the relationship with my dad as well wasn't all that great in the beginning. Me and him, we talk now. We probably talk like once a week or something like that.
Right.
But there was a point in my life where I wasn't talking to him at all, you know. And then I'm not really kind of sure how we reconnected. Like as a kid, I was always that kid that was like, I was like, my dad is coming. My dad is coming. You know, he would tell us he would come. And then sometimes he would show up, and sometimes he wouldn't. But I was always that kid that was on the step, because I have a brother as well. I have an older brother. But I was always the one, still had my backpack on and everything. I'm like, he's still coming, sitting on the steps, you know, he never showed up. I never really blamed him or was mad at him about that. You know, I try not to hold grudges or anything. But my brother, he took like a kind of opposite turn from me on the situation. Right. Or whatever. And so what I could try to say to you or try to give you advice is, you know, it's never too late, you know, to still try, because even like how my brother was towards my dad, now they have some type of relationship where they talk. You know? Right.
So, yeah, I still reach out to my son. Yeah. He just hadn't reached back. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's been so long now, and he's also older, you know, from 10, 11 years old to now 17. I don't even know like what type of person he is to even know where his mental is to even be like, when he see my name pop up on the phone, like what goes through his mind. Yeah. My question, so when you reconnected with your dad, about how old were you?
This had to have been sometime after I had graduated college. Okay. Really?
It's crazy, like our dynamics are so different but kind of the same, because like I don't talk to my dad. Me and my dad haven't spoken in 14, 15 years maybe. But I had my dad the whole time I was growing up. It wasn't until right after college that me and him severed our relationship.
Yeah, and like I said, I kind of like my dad was an alcoholic. So like I said, when I said he was fighting his own demons, I really couldn't blame him for that. Right. And so like, once I really saw the bigger picture, and I just really kind of like, well, let's just see if it can work, you know? Right. So that's how it was.
Is he still?
No, he's recovered. He's been sober for like 18 years now.
That's crazy. So, that's what's up. That's what's up. Does he have? What are y'all conversations like? If you could share that, like.
Oh man, our conversations, man, we laughing on the phone all the time. Word. Talking about different things. I may ask him for advice on certain situations, but yeah, my dad he's a jokester. Okay. And I think I kind of get it from him. Word. But yeah, he's constantly telling jokes and laughing.
Does he ever verbally replay where he was mentally when he was an alcoholic with you?
We've had that conversation at least once or twice, and he always felt bad about the situation and wish he could have did better. Right. So,
but I imagine, being that y'all have a good relationship, that it's not something that you like you said, you don't hold it against him. No. So that allows him the freedom to be like, okay, I'm good within this relationship because you're not holding any ill will.
No, not at all.
Got you. Man, it's just crazy how with parenting, like I know people who like, yo, I want kids, and they'll ask me like, you know what? I'm like, I'm the wrong person to ask. like yo, I don't even know what to tell you.
Yeah, once you have kids, man, it's a different ballgame. Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely a huge responsibility. And I actually knew it was a huge responsibility when my son was coming. I was like, I just ain't ready for the responsibility. And so it took me, you know, a couple years to really be like, all right, I'm gonna dive in. But what I did was I made some decisions. Like I hoop pretty serious. I played a little bit of JUCO before I quit. But then after college, I had the opportunity to play semi-pro.
Okay.
But I would have had to move to Tennessee.
And you didn't want to be away from your son?
Didn't want to be away from my son, which is crazy because that's also part of the reason why me and my dad don't talk. Because my dad was living in New Jersey. He was in the military. He was at McDowell Air Force Base at the time. And he wanted me to go ahead and get my 4-year degree. He wanted me to do 2 more years of college, get my 4-year, and then move to New Jersey. Because he was like, yo, I can get you a job up here, you know, starting out at $65,000. And at that time, that's what, 2005. So,
Okay,
you know,
that's good money.
Right, you know what I mean? And so I was just like, but my son is here. You know what I'm saying? He was like, well, you know, you got to kind of leave home sometimes to take care of home. And I said some shit I probably shouldn't have said.
You probably kind of, when he said that, it probably kind of took you back. Well,
yeah, because I told him.
You should have been home. Like, I needed you here.
And that's what I told him. I was like, you know, kind of like you did.
Right.
But I probably shouldn't have said that, though. And, you know, giving my dad credit, like, even though he wasn't physically there, like, he was an integral part of my life growing up. So it wasn't like he just was gone and it was like, all right, whatever. Yeah. But at the same time, I knew that I didn't. If I left Raleigh, then I won't never gonna be a dad to my son ever. Like I would have never. I would have just brushed it off and went on about my business. So that's why I stuck around in Raleigh. And to be quite honest with you, probably why I'm still here now. Like hoping like yo, he about to graduate high school, but yo, hopefully he'll pick up the phone. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I mean, you know how we are, especially young boys. We hard-headed,
right?
And so eventually he might turn around. You know, I would definitely say just keep constantly trying.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Keep shooting that shot, and one time you might answer that phone call. You know.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy. And now, and I don't know if your research got you this far, but we just had an Inspired show a few weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago, and so now the next one we're doing is a kids edition. Okay. And
I would love to come to that.
Bet, yeah, definitely should be there. We're planning it for like next July.
Okay.
Time frame, but even in that, a lot of it is me saying, okay, I have this perspective of having kids or being around kids or mentoring kids, et cetera, et cetera. And so I haven't done a lot with kids, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't even have my own. But it's me, you know, kind of on the underlying layer, really wanting to be able to teach, mentor, do things for kids. But I got to put myself in that position because right now I'm not in a position to do that the way that I actually want to.
Right.
And so I'm really wondering how that's going to pan out. How that process is going to be mentally, how it's going to be emotionally. You know, will I, because I normally don't like attach myself to kids too much. So yeah, it's crazy. And you know, going back to when Janelle was like, yo, look, you need to, you know what I'm saying, my guy? And I'm like, man, because you already know God, sometimes he'll throw stuff in your path that you need, but that you've been avoiding. Yeah. And so I was like, yo, I got to sit down with this guy. And I kind of been avoiding it for a while.
Oh, come on, man.
Because she been told me about you. It's been several months.
Okay. I think right now it's perfect timing. For me, I know for me at least.
Why you say that?
I just feel like I'm on this path now where I'm going up. Like, cause this whole year I've been building the foundation for this brand. Right. And so now going into next year, I feel like there's no way I can go but up from here.
I made a post a few days ago talking about the prep. I said, you know, I was like, 2022 may not be your year. This may be your prep year. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of times we don't. I think the analogy I use, I'm like, yo, you may say I'm a bake of spaghetti in 30 minutes, and just because you're a hard worker and you're smart, you try to bake the spaghetti in 30 minutes, but there's no way to do it. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, just the baking part alone is gonna take longer than 30. Yes. but we're over, you know, and so people go into, yo, this my year, this my year, this my year. But when you know you've done the prep work, you know, chopped up all the onions and the peppers and boiled the spaghetti, made the sauce, all that stuff, then you can look at it and say, all right, I'm going up. And I think that's important, not just in business, but just in life in general, understanding where you are, knowing that you're in your prep period, because you could be in your prep period, but if you don't know you in it, you probably gonna have to prep a little bit longer.
Right.
I know for me, like when Inspired, I had a prep period, and now I can recognize what my prep period has been. But because I didn't know I was prepping in the beginning, instead of my prep period in my mind taking 6 months, it's been a 3-year prep period.
Wow.
So it took me a whole lot longer to actually get everything diced up and ready to actually go in the oven.
So within that time frame, did you ever run into a point where like this isn't worth it?
Yeah, after the first show.
After the first shows.
Because I took a loss.
So what did you learn? So what was the loss, and then what did you learn from it? What did you learn from
The loss was over $7,000. That was the loss. But what's crazy is I wasn't passionate about Inspired at that point.
Okay.
That was just something that I could do, and I was like, yo, let me have a show. I was playing poker heavy, and so I was supposed to play in the World Series of Poker. I was thinking about turning pro, things of that nature. So Inspired was just, yo, I got the money to do this. You know, I'm a pretty decent writer, I feel like, and let me see if I can do a show. And so I poured my all into it, you know, because I don't really do things if I'm not going, like I do this podcast, like I'm gonna hit it, I'm gonna do it. But after it happened and I lost all that, I was like, yeah, I'm done, bro. It was the only thing that kept me was Crystal the Muse, which is my host and also my co-director, coordinator, all that good stuff. She was just like, nah, like, this is good. Like, even though, you know, the money, like, I can help with situating the budget a certain way. Like, I can help, da-da-da-da. And then I had, it's kind of been a mentor of mine in a way with the entertainment field. Tim Johnson called me and was just like, yo, like, it takes people their whole life sometimes. They don't never have 100 people come to a show. You did that your first show. Like, nah, that was good. Yeah. But what I learned from it was I wouldn't have did it different. I would have, but I wouldn't have. You know what I'm saying? Because I learned that I could jump and just completely pivot and do something completely different from what I was already doing. And then still actually have it be a success. Even if it wasn't a financial success at the time, it was an actual success, and then it'll grow into what it need to be. Yeah. And I learned that 90+% of the time, whatever I got in my head, whatever I think it's gonna be, it's probably not gonna be that. And so then I had to go through a process to understand. I had to go through a process to understand where I needed to actually have my expectations at. And so then once I was able to figure that out, and really I just doing tests, basically. I did a couple tests, and once I put some plans together and it actually hit I'm like, okay, my expectations are actually realistic now. Instead of me being like, you know, yeah, next year I'm gonna have 10,000 people at Inspired. Now I still stretch myself. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I stretch myself with a proper expectation in my business. So those are probably the biggest things that I learned.
Yeah, and it kind of also sounded like you had like kind of built like a little team around you as well.
Got to. Yeah. Got to. And even though it's a small team, you know what I'm saying? Like even TC here, like he's part of a group of people that I know that I can count on. Right. You know what I'm saying? That like it's one thing to have help and people who are around you helping to do certain things, but then it's another thing to have competent help and willing people to help. Because if you got the wrong help, you're just gonna need more help to help you with the help you needed in the begin with.
And that's kind of like what I said, where I want to go as well. I want to build a team of people around me as well to help me bring my brand to the next level. And like, you gotta know your strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. And definitely one of my weaknesses is like marketing and social media and pushing it out there. Like,
Right.
That's something I definitely know I need help with.
Right.
For sure.
And when we get off camera, I'll give you a couple things that I think may help. But the biggest thing, really, for real, is just do what you know how to do. Do that well, and along the way, you will meet the people that'll be like, yo, I want to pour into this, or I can do this for you, or hey, I'm gonna charge you, but I can get this done properly. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the biggest. That's how I've found the people that are a part of my everyday team, which is super small. But then people who, especially like when it gets closer to the show and show day, when you can't be 18 places at one time, that step in and take care of things the way they need to be taken care of. So yeah, man, I just say, and not to kind of, or maybe to kind of big myself up a little bit, but like for me to take notice of a brand, and be like, yo, like that's dope. Like I'm not easily impressed. I put it like that. It takes a lot for me to be like, yo, that's all right with me. You know what I'm saying? And normally, I just keep my mouth shut if I don't think something dope or whatever. But more people like myself who are in better positions than I am, or know how to do more things than I do, they'll find you, bro. I promise you. Like, we just had a show a couple weeks ago, and the amount of people who have reached out to me and ain't want nothing from me, and just like, hey, I'm a branding coach. This is what I do full time. I just want to have a conversation with you. Oh. And I'm like, okay, yeah, they're gonna try to get me to be a client. Yeah. And they ain't even saying, like, I'm like, yo, what do you need from me? And it was like, nothing, but here go these contacts with this person and that person, and then they out the way. You know what I'm saying? People invite you to certain rooms.
That's major. That's major.
Bro, I promise you, bro. Like, you keep going, I promise you it's gonna happen. It took me, TC, when did we? March. I met them in March of 18. And just now, this year, am I in a place where people are starting to put me in rooms and connect me. And I mean, people have connected, but connect me with people who are saying, hey, let me put some money in your pocket. You know what I'm saying? Let me sponsor this, or and so it's definitely been, it's been great. Or then you have your track record of what you've done. You know, even me and Chris, GOODTRIP, like, and being able to shoot here, like, if I hadn't already had done certain things, then when we had a conversation about what it would look like for me to shoot here, it may not have turned out that particular way, because it's like, well, you telling me a whole bunch of what you want to do, right, versus, hey, this is what I've done and this is what I'm gonna do moving forward. So I think it just as you continue to move along and continue to grow and how you know how to grow, then later on somebody can come and sit down and be like, oh, so you already did this? All right, bet. Well, have you done this? And you be like, nah. Well, have you done that? Nah. I be like, and you got this far? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and help you. So man, that's it. That's it. Just keep doing what you're doing, and those people you'll attract those people that need to come. Yeah.
It's dope.
It was something else a few minutes ago that I wanted to ask you, and now it's escaping my brain. It might come back to me in a minute. You know how I'd be like right on the tip, and he'd be like, just like Crystal, she'd be like, shh. She'd be like, don't say nothing. But it ain't coming right now. But have you ever thought about, and I've been talking to a lot of people about nonprofits lately. Is your business a nonprofit? And if it's not, have you thought about a nonprofit?
No, my business isn't a nonprofit. I haven't thought about one. Really don't know too much about like running one.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that nonprofits, it's easy to get grants if you have a nonprofit. And the reason I was asking you is because with a nonprofit that's centered around your brand, because it is tied to kids, I think you could do a lot. You could get a lot of money to then do a lot of good with that money. And like I said, I don't know nothing about nonprofits neither.
Yeah.
I actually need to start inquiring about that myself. So any resources I have, I'll pass along. But I think if you couple a nonprofit with preserved father figures, and then are able to get all these grants, like the things that you could then do with that in the school systems, you know, even as far as maybe like different types of conferences, you know, like I could see a preserved father figures conference, you know what I'm saying, where it's not just adults, but adults are coming with their kids, or it may not be their child, but they're like a father figure to this particular child, and they're bringing them there, and they're strengthening their relationships through a preserved father figures conference. Like I think
I was thinking of doing some type of things like that as well, and mentoring. But yeah, I would definitely, for me, I would need to link up with the right people to make that happen. Yeah. 'Cause I know I wouldn't be able to do it by myself.
Oh nah, yeah. I mean, you always gotta have people, but I think too, being that, you know, because the idea for this kind of came out of thin air, really, and then you just started working on it. I think if you just start putting the action and putting those feet forward, one above the other or ahead of the other, I think you'll quickly run into the people. If you say, look, I'm gonna do a Preserved Father Figures conference, and I'm gonna have it in Raleigh or Durham or wherever, and then you start telling people that that's what you want to do, bro, I promise you, people will come out the woodworks and be like, well, I got a space that you can have it at, you know what I'm saying? Or I know somewhere that's only a couple $100.
And that's some great advice, because I recently just heard, or I listen to podcasts all the time, different ones, and on the certain one I listened to, it was like, it's not really like what you're trying to sell, or it's not really about your brand, it's the things around your brand.
You listen to Social Proof.
Yeah.
I listen to the same joint. Yeah. I got Chris on the Social Proof.
That's a real dope podcast.
That was the one with him and Donnie, right? Yeah. I just listened to that day before yesterday. Yeah, it's the things around your brand that you're doing that help the brand. Yeah. That's some good stuff, and you know, not that I gotta co-sign them because they, you know what I'm saying, they out of here, but I when they said it, I was like, that makes sense, because that's what I do. You know what I'm saying? And that's worked for me, and I've seen it work for other people. Man, you ain't gotta wait. You ain't gotta wait till you meet the right people. You'll meet the right people going along. And I ain't saying set a date. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying like, yo, January 15th, I'm gonna have a conference. Right. But then maybe you do set a date. You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes once you set it, like I know for me, when I set a date for Inkspired, I was like, yo, August 4th, I'm having Inkspired, and I pay my deposit, then I had to make it happen.
Yeah. And sometimes you got to do it like that, especially with the other podcast I listen to, with the guy who bought the salon. No, he bought a building. I think he does hair. I forgot.
Marcus Doss.
Yeah. It was like, once you put some money down like that and pay something, you ain't got no other choice but to make it. Put in, So
you ain't got no choice. I know reading a lot of business books when I was a little bit younger, there was a lot of people who had borrowed money from their family members, things of that nature. And it was like, yo, like I borrowed $176,000 from my parents. Like I can't fail. I couldn't fail. You know what I mean? And then that just kind of really goes to knowing who you are and how you are. Because some people will get in that spot and they just bail out and like, yo, it's too much pressure, whatever. But then there's some people who, once they put themselves in that position, they gon' rise to the occasion. So it may even be a thing where you just like, yo, look, I'm gonna do this conference. Who gonna help me? Like literally just put up a status on Facebook.
You heard it first. Conference coming soon.
Right. Listen, I'm gonna be there. I might be in the back, you know what I'm saying, with my tissue or whatnot, trying to make sure I'm good. But I think that's something that could really be impactful. And that makes sense for your brand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because then you wind up having, you know, a dad come up to you who's just like, man, like I was just struggling, yo, but that speaker on stage said X, Y, Z, and that just kind of turned around for me. And then for you, now you like, man.
I just changed somebody's life. Yeah, and that's what it's all about.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So man, and wrapping up, In the beginning, I asked you, who do you think you are? Now I'm gonna ask you, who do you think you will be?
All right, and I want to rephrase that question.
Okay, rephrase it.
Not who I think I will be, who I know I will be.
Okay.
I know I'm going to be somebody that's going to make a positive change and impact. I know I'm going to be running a successful business, multiple ones, and that's pretty much it, man. I just know I'm going to be something great.
Or it's crazy because I always listen for. I'm always curious as to how people are going to respond to that question.
You gotta manifest that, man. I gotta manifest that.
Yeah. You got to, and even the fact that you rephrased it, like that. In my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I don't know this guy, but the fact that he was like, you know what, I want to rephrase that, and I know that I will be a person that makes impact. I know I'll be a person that runs multiple businesses. Like, I'm looking forward to, you know, not just you, but with everybody, like standing and really seeing, like, you know, what happens. You watch Social Proof, so you know David always asked him, like, you know, 10 years,
from now,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that was I kind of patterned that and just got my different question that made sense for me.
I did want to ask you, so how did you come up with the name? Like, who do you think you are?
So you know how, like, sometimes that's has a negative connotation to it. Like, you know, somebody skip line somebody and they're like, nigga, who you think you are?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, I wanted it to be a reflection question. Like, who do you think you are? Because sometimes the people that we think we are isn't necessarily what we actually portray either. And then sometimes who we think we want to be, we think that we can't get to that because we need to meet the right person, or because we don't have enough money, or because we took a loss, or whatever the case may be. And so I felt like it would be a good question that would be able to start a conversation, even if I don't know somebody. And I have had people that, like I said, that walk in.
That's a great question, man. Like, it's kind of simple but complex at the same time. Because you can take it multiple directions.
And some people do. I had Raven on. Raven was like, yo, I'm a superstar. And so then I'm like, well, why are you a superstar? And then she just starts unraveling, you know, her childhood. And even though I knew her, we grew up in the same area. She's like 8 years younger than me. So I start finding out all these things about her, all these successes that she's had, and just weird quirks and stuff that I never even knew about. So that's why I asked that question. It allows me to allow the person to kind of introduce themselves in a way without saying, hey, my name is such and such and my business is da-da-da-da. It just kind of allows them to tell you what they think about themselves versus me introducing and saying, hey, look, you know, today we on with Domonique from Preserve Father Figures. Nah, like, I want to know, like, who do you think you are? And so I was like, let me just name the podcast.
Yeah, that's a great twist, man. You really got something special here, and I can see this being on the Social Proof levels.
Oh man, that'd be dope. I appreciate that. It's crazy because, you know, David has the Start Your Podcast Challenge, and, you know, they got a 7-figure podcast and all that. It's crazy. I hadn't even looked into tapping into how to make money off of it. Probably should as a businessman.
That's another key. Make sure you invest in yourself. Make sure you invest in your brand. Like, one of the things I did on Black Friday, instead of buying clothes or something like that, I bought a course. I bought a course on how to build a brand.
Yeah. So. You got to. If you're not investing in, like, anybody that want to invest in themselves, I can't even have a conversation with them. Not about business anyway. Because if Chris don't go and at least buy all the supplies that he needs to paint, how you gonna paint? You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Like, if he didn't, you know, had his spot, and not saying he wouldn't have anywhere, but this is branding. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a spot with nothing but windows, and then you got nothing but paintings, all different colors, different people, objects, things of that nature.
So then when they walk past, they looking in like, what's going on? Yeah.
That, like, literally, that's how I saw the place.
Really?
I drove by at night and the lights were on, which I think is another thing. Instead of the lights being off, the lights were on, which allows people to see in, even though they split second going by in a car.
Yeah, especially if you're on a dark street and you right, like, what's lit up over here?
Nothing else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think, like you said, investing in yourself, but then also illuminating your brand, telling people about your brand, allowing people to be able to see that figuratively and not that the light is on, will attract certain people, and then it's just connecting the dots, putting the puzzle pieces in together to make things bigger.
Yeah.
Hopefully people catching that, man.
Right.
Because it's important. And, you know, you said it first, and then I echoed it, like, we both took losses. You know what I'm saying? You can't take a loss if you don't invest.
Man, you're gonna always take a loss.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. And if you wind up striking gold the first time out,
I'm about to
congratulations.
say, yeah, congrats. But yeah, you're gonna the main thing is fail often in the beginning.
Yeah.
So that way you can skip those mistakes when you get later on down the road.
Yeah, I always say making mistakes fast. Fail fast. I know, God, I forget his name, but he has a book called Fail Forward. And I believe in that too, but fail fast. Because the faster you go through the mistakes, the more you know, the more knowledge you have, so you don't make those mistakes again. And then a lot of times you get to a point, like I'm to a point, I might knock on some wood or something. I feel like I'm at a point now where I don't even have to see the mistake. There's other people that are saying, hey, a mile up the road, there's a roadblock, just go ahead and go around this way. Or like Siri's rerouting me now around certain things, so I don't even have to hit those walls anymore.
That's a great analogy, yeah. That's dope.
So in the business world and in the personal life, I think I'm more there in business than I am in personal, but in the business world, definitely investing in yourself, illuminating your brand, and then moving in a way where people are saying, hey, look, yeah, you don't even want to go that way because that's what's going to happen. And it just makes you go faster, better, and then you can make more impact, you know, in a shorter period of time than you could on your own. Yeah. Well, man, look, I appreciate you being on, bro. I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me, for real.
Look, we need to thank Janelle.
Yeah.
I call her Mel. I don't even be calling her Janelle, but yeah, we need, definitely shout out to her.
Yeah, that's about to shout out to her.
Yeah, because another, connection, you know what I'm saying, that came through me making a decision to do it, because I met her through Inspired, me out promoting and this and the other, found out she could sing. She was in a couple shows and whatnot, so it's been dope, man. But yeah, definitely appreciate you getting up early. I know Sunday mornings,
Oh, no, I'm an early bird.
Oh, you an early bird?
I'm an early bird, and on top of that, I can't get no sleep with my daughter, man. She an early bird too, so.
Oh, man, yeah. I don't do the mornings like that.
Really?
I can and I do if I need to, but I'm not. Yeah, it'd be tough because I don't want to go to bed early. I'd rather stay up late.
Okay.
But if I know I'm shooting on a Sunday morning, I don't go to bed late because I refuse to yawn on my own podcast.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of times where I was like, like trying to hold that joint in. So I make sure I go to bed. But I'm like a kid in that sense where I don't want to go to bed early because I feel like I'll miss something.
Yeah. I probably went to sleep by I went to sleep late, but still woke up at like 4 o'clock this morning.
Heck no. If I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to get some bread.
But that's the thing. I was up just working on my business.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I can. It can wait till 10. But definitely, man, it was good. Good, definitely good chopping it up, and I'm pretty sure we gon', you know what I'm saying, we're gonna stay connected and whatnot, and we'll help each other where we can, bro. Yeah. All right.
Let's do it.
I don't know what to say to y'all yet at the end, so we out.
Peace.